Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us this evening. We are part of the TESIC Virtual PL series, and I think this is our fifth session, maybe? Six. Oh, wow. Tonight, we're going to be talking about Google Classroom, specifically the Classwork page and how to assign work, grade work, provide feedback. We're going to be looking at the grades page, all that fun stuff. And you're welcome to ask questions throughout the session, and hopefully this will be good and informative for you. My name is Megan Room. I'm the president of TESIC. I'm a grade 6 French immersion teacher in CBS, and I'm here this evening with my co-host Stacy.
Hi everyone, I'm Stacy Hopkins. I'm teacher librarian and student success teacher at Learysburg Junior High in St. John's, and I am the communication officer for TESIC. So looking forward to learning alongside you all this evening, and feel free to ask any questions, anything like that, and we'll go ahead and get started.
All right, awesome. So I'm going to start off with sharing so we made a TESIC Google Classroom specifically for this session, just to make it a little bit more interactive for you folks, and also so that you can see the student view of Google Classroom when we do assign things, because from our point of view, when we post things in our Google Classroom, it does have a slightly different layout and view than it does from our students. So sometimes when we haul Google Classroom up on the smartboard and we're explaining things to our students, what we're showing them to click on isn't always where it is from their perspective. So we want you to be able to see it from the teacher's perspective as well as the student perspective. So I'm going to go ahead and put the join link in the chat. So there are a couple ways that you can join a Google Classroom. I'm actually going to put both. I'm going to put the class code and the link. So these are two ways that you can join. I could also go into the people page and type everyone's name in and add you that way. The ways that I've shared with you, if you click on the link, that's going to direct you right to Google Classroom, and you can join the TESIC Classroom from there. I've also put the code in the chat. And that's often how I get my students to join. So you go to your Google Classroom homepage, and then up in the top right corner, there's a plus sign, and that allows you to join a class, and you can type in the codes through there. So we can go ahead and join Google Classroom from there. And I'm going to also present Google Classroom now. So when you're joined in that classroom, you don't need to go into it. I'm actually going to get you to stay on the home page, so where all your tiles are, and I'm going to present that now. And we're going to go over a couple settings before we get into the classroom and start looking at some specifics. Just a second there now. And present tab. There we go. All right, so now we are looking at my Google Classroom homepage. So if you can just give me a good to go in the chat, if you've joined our TESIC Google Classroom and you're ready to move on to the next step, I'd love for everybody to be looking at their homepage, like you see here with all your tiles.
We've got 21 students, so we're
good to go.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And unfortunately, if you are with CSFP, you won't be able to.
Yes, unfortunately, because the way it works is only people from your domain can join your Google Classroom. So because I'm under the NLESD domain, unfortunately, folks from outside our school district aren't able to join. But what I recommend, sorry, Megan. What I recommend is that anytime you want to play around with something, even though you are an educator, you can still join a Google Classroom as a student. So I would just get a colleague to create a Google Classroom, give you the join code, and then you just join as a student and have them post some random stuff like we're going to do tonight. And that will give you a view from the student perspective. All right, so from this page, before we actually get into Google Classroom, there's just one thing that I wanted to bring up, and I find this super important is managing our settings. So if you haven't already, you might be receiving a lot of Google Classroom email notifications. And this is also a really great tip to handle onto your students as well. And you know, it's great to get email notifications, but we don't need them for everything. So this is something I always show folks when we talk about Google Classroom. So up in the top left corner, you'll see 3 horizontal lines, sometimes called a hamburger menu or pancake menu. Those are some cute nicknames, especially if you're showing kids where to click. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the hamburger. And in this menu, it shows you all the classrooms that you are teaching. And it also shows you all the classes that you are enrolled in as a student. And at the very bottom, we have our archive classes. So at the end of the school year, you can archive a class without completely deleting it. And we'll talk about why that's handy in a little bit. And right at the very bottom, you have your settings. So we're going to go ahead and click on that. From here, you can tweak some of your profile settings, but what I want you to look at, if we scroll down, are your email notifications. So first of all, if the toggles pull over to the right, they're turned on. If you click on it, the toggle pulls over to the left and it turns gray. In this situation, you wouldn't receive any email notifications at all for any Google Classrooms you are either teaching or enrolled in. So I leave mine turned on because I do want some emails. And if I scroll down, you get 3 categories. You get comments, classes you're enrolled in, and classes you teach. And for each one of those categories, there are several areas for which you can get notifications. So I'm not going to go through all of them now. This is a great thing for you to do when you have a free moment. Just read through them all and whatever works best for you. Again, if it's to the left in gray, it's turned off. And just by clicking on the toggle, it pulls to the right and blue is turned on. So I already have mine customized. The blue ones are the ones that I like getting emails for. And the gray ones, of course, I won't get emails for those topics. Now, this generalizes all of your classrooms. If you scroll down a little further, down here you have class notifications, and there's a little down arrow. So I'm going to click there, and this expands every class that you're enrolled in or that you teach. And then from here, you can turn on and off specific classrooms. So even though you have your notifications customized up above, down below, if there's a certain class that you just don't need to get notifications for, you might still want to be a member and you'll check it occasionally when you need to, but you don't need to get those emails. You can turn it off. So again, click on it. If it's gray and to the left, it's turned off. If it's blue and to the right, it's turned on. And every one of these that are blue and to the right will follow the customized notifications that I've already set up above. So again, if you want to get to that, if you're on your home page of your Google Classroom, it's up in the top left, the 3 horizontal lines. Scroll down to the bottom of that menu. Click on settings, and that's where you can customize all of your Google Classroom email notifications. I also suggest that if your students are using their email accounts, and for me, I teach elementary, so I teach my students at the beginning of the year how to use their Gmail so that if they need anything from me, they can send me an email. And I also help them clean up their inbox a bit because usually by that point, it's inundated with Google Classroom notifications. And we do a little lesson on how to manage our classroom notifications as well. Any questions about notifications? All good? Awesome. All right. So we're going to go ahead now. I'm going to jump into the classroom. So you can just have a look at the Google Meet presentation. And when I do post something, I'll give you a heads up to jump in the classroom as well if I need you to interact with the post. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up. In a Google Classroom, we have 4 pages. As a student, you will only have 3. We have our stream, which is our main page or our news feed of our classroom. We have the Classwork page where we can assign and organize and provide feedback to work. We have our people page, which will list all teachers and students enrolled in the class. And then we have our grades page, which acts kind of like a grade book. So the 2 pages we're going to focus on today are Classwork and grades. I'm going to go through the classwork page and go through all the basics of assigning work and how to interact with that work, how to turn in your work. And then I'm going to pass it over to Stacy, and she's going to go through how to grade that work and then how to manage your grades over in the grades page. So I'm going to go ahead and click on classwork. And from here on the classwork page, we already have a couple things posted. So this is what we call a topic. So our bigger headers, those are topics. And underneath, we have assignments posted. So a great way to organize your classroom is to put topics. And your topics could be subjects, they could be weeks, they could be themes, whatever works best for your classroom. And you'll also find those topics on the left-hand side of the classwork page. And if I click on one of these topics, that's all I will see. So it'll bring up everything posted under language arts. If I click on math, it brings up everything that's posted under math. And if I go back to all topics, it brings me back to the classwork page where I can see everything. At the top of the page, we have our create button. And that's where we can create posts to put on our classwork page. So we have assignments, and that's what we would use if we want to give copies of something to our students, which we want them to interact with and then turn back in. There are quiz assignments, same thing, an assignment, but specifically dealing with Google Forms. There's the question feature, which kind of creates a type of forum for you to ask questions and for students to answer and interact with each other. There's material, where this would be something you're just posting for students to view. Could be a syllabus, a study guide, any kind of reference material. There's reuse post. So if you teach some of the similar grades or courses year after year, you might have a nice post, a nice assignment, instructions already typed from a previous year. If you have your class archived, you can, or even if you don't have it archived, you can easily go in and reuse a post from another classroom, which is incredibly handy. And you can also create a topic, which are the headers I just pointed out. So that's just a quick overview of what we have under that create menu. So I'm going to go ahead now and click on create topic. So I already have language arts and math. So all I need to do to create a topic, I go create, click on create topic. I'm going to call this one, oh, got my caps locked on, science. And all you have to do then is click add. And that's going to create another header on your page. If you want, you can click on that topic and you can actually drag it around. If you prefer to have your courses in a certain order, or your themes, your topics, what have you. Something important to note is that if there's nothing posted under the science header, then your students won't see this. So you can notice there's a little blurb down here. Students will see this topic once work is added to it. So if you want to go ahead and put in all your topics, you don't need to worry about your students looking at it and having their classwork page all crowded with topics with nothing posted under them and having them confused. A topic won't show up until you post something under it. Something else that I like to do with my topics, you'll see right here to the right, there's 3 little dots. Anywhere you see little dots, little lines, it always indicates a menu. So I'm going to click there, and maybe I want to change the name of the topic. I can rename it. I can go ahead and delete it. I can copy a link to it, which we can talk about now in a second. And I can also move it up in order. But like I showed you, just clicking and dragging also moves it around. I'm going to go and rename it. And something that I like to do is I like to add emojis to my topics and my assignments just to make it more visually appealing and making it more accessible to all of my students. I know a lot of primary teachers like this, but I would also find it super handy for my students, especially when they're looking at classwork and there's a lot of stuff posted at first glance. If they know they're looking for the, I don't know, plane emoji because we're studying flight, their eye is more, they're probably more quickly to see something with emoji than words. So I'm on my district laptop here. It's a Windows laptop. If you right click or 2-finger tap on your trackpad, you can actually get an emoji menu. You can also Google search an emoji and paste it there. So I'm going to go and let's see. Let's see if there's any kind of science. There we go. I'm going to use a test tube. And then when I rename it, there's my science header with a little emoji next to it, just a little bit more visually appealing. So that's how you can create and customize topics on your Classwork page. So we're going to go ahead now and we're going to create an assignment, and then I'm going to actually get you to interact with it from your end and turn in some work. So I'm going to go ahead and click on create assignment. Just for the purpose of this, I'm going to call it assignment number 1. But of course, you would give it a more specific title when you go to assign work to your students. So always give it a title. Instructions are optional, but you do need to give it a title in order to be able to post it to your Classwork page. So we can just say follow instructions and complete work. Click on turn in when you are done.
And just to note as well that the instruction, if you have parent guardian summaries turned on, the instructions will be included in those as well. So just something to keep in mind. Sometimes, I might have explained something in class, but giving the instructions there so parents can kind of see and their families can see and understand them can be important too.
Yeah, I have my guardian summaries turned on. So my parents do get those emails, but I definitely imagine that would be confusing for them if they see assignment 1 is due in 3 days. It says nothing on what you have to do. And if they ask their child, what do you have to do for this? I don't know. I'm sure we've all heard that before. So it's great that communication's there for your students, but it can also be there for your guardians as well. You can also bold, italicize, underline, bullet point. There's and remove formatting there if you want to customize the instructions that you've typed. So I'm going to go ahead. Now down here is where you would attach a file. So you can either attach from your Google Drive. You can upload a file if it's already on your computer. You can add a link. So if you want to give reference to a website, you can put the link there. You can also add a YouTube video. And if you wanted to, you could add a brand new document straight from the assignment itself. So if you wanted something blank, if you had instructions here on how to write a descriptive paragraph, and you don't have a template, but you don't want students having to go and create their own Google Doc, you could actually put a blank one in there right from the assignment. But I have some templates already prepared in my Google Drive that I want to share with students. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the Add Google Drive file.
The benefit of creating a doc too in that case would be that you can see it as they're working on it, as opposed to having them attach it after the fact. So if this was like a process piece that you were going to be working on and you kind of wanted to watch them working on it, having a file that they interact with will let you see the whole process and not just get it turned in at the end.
Yeah, if they go and create the file themselves and they share it with you or attach it as an attachment and then turn in their work, like they say, you're not gonna be able to see any of their progress and be able to pop in and check on them. So even if they're doing something from a blank document, I like attaching the blank document so that I have access to it the whole time that they're working on it. So I'm going to go ahead and add my assignment 1. And once I have a file uploaded from my drive, it will show up down bottom. And from there, there's a little drop-down menu on the file. I can have it so that students can simply view the file. I can have it so that they can all edit the same file, or I can have it so that I make a copy for each of them. So for this particular example, I'm going to make a copy for everyone so that when you go in, you'll have your own copy of the work that only you can interact with and then turn back into me. So we have a title, we have instructions, we've added something from our drive. We have decided what we're going to do with it. So I want every student to have their own copy. If I teach multiple classes, I can actually assign this to a couple classes at once, which is cool. So if you're a secondary teacher and you teach several slots of the same subject, and it's going to be the same assignment, same instructions for each homeroom or each class, you could assign that assignment several times. So it's just a matter of checking a couple classes. and selecting the ones you want. Alternatively, if you had just a couple students that you wanted assigned to, so say some students need some extra material to work on, or this maybe is a group project, so you're only setting this material to a specific group, you can deselect all students and just select the students you want to assign to. And something neat about that is that when it shows on the Classwork page, you'll see it because you're the teacher. Those students will see it because you assigned it to them, but none of your other students will see it on their Classwork page. So that's a neat alternative as well. You can also give your assignment a point value. So you can make it out of 100, out of 50, out of 20. For elementary, sometimes I just put it at a 4 because I've had that discussion with my students. We talk about the 4 scale and what that means. So you could do that, or you could have it ungraded. Under that, you have due. So then you can pick a due date for a couple of days time, a week time. You can even put in the time if that's very specific. I usually just put in the day. And then I'm also usually flexible with due dates, but I like to introduce them in elementary. We also have topics. So we have the topics we've already created. If you're creating a new assignment for a topic that is not yet there, you can actually create the topic from the assignment as well. My assignment, the assignment number 1 is actually an example of a math assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and select math. And that's all I need right now for to be able to assign this assignment. We will go over the rubric feature in a little bit, but for right now, I'm going to leave it like this. I can now go up to the top right corner and click on assign, or from the drop down, I can schedule it. So oftentimes, like at this hour, I may be prepping stuff for tomorrow. If my students are also receiving email notifications, I don't want to be going and pushing out material and assignments and them getting dings on their phone or checking their email knowing that the assignment is there already. I want them to be able to see it tomorrow morning when class starts. So I actually can go in and schedule it. This will give me an option to pick the day as well as the time, and then I can schedule it. If I schedule, and I'll show what that looks like. It'll show up on the Classwork page for me, but it will be grayed out and students won't be able to see it. You'll also see that it says scheduled for tomorrow at 8 a.m. If I want to modify that, I've decided I don't want to schedule it. Again, you click on your menu, so that allows you to edit. I'm going to click on edit, and I'll just X out. So it says scheduled for tomorrow, 8 a.m. I can change my scheduling, or I can just get rid of it. Again, from the drop down, if I'm not ready, I started tweaking it, but I'm not ready to schedule it. I'm not ready to assign it. I can also save it as a draft. And again, it'll show up on the Classwork page, grayed out with save draft next to it, or saved as draft. It'll just sit there until I edit it and assign it. Or I can go ahead and click on assign right now. So I'm going to assign it, and it's just going to double check because like it says in the pop-up, students will be able to interact with it and see it immediately. So if you don't want them to do that, of course, scheduling is your best bet. I'm going to click on assign, and that's going to show up on my Classwork page. And what I want you folks to do now, just taking a moment, there we go. It's called assignment number 1. So I want you folks to go in now to the Google Classroom that you joined. Just have a look. What it looks like from a student perspective, because of course, from my perspective as a teacher, I can see 0 are turned in, there are 21 assigned. If I click on view assignment, I'll see a copy of everybody's work, and also a class list down the left-hand side. I can see that this is an ungraded assignment. And if I toggle over here, so there's 2 pages to an assignment, I can go back to the instruction page. But even this page, the instruction page, which is what students will see, looks different. For me, the attachment is under the instructions. If you go into the classroom now, you'll notice that the attachment is actually up in the top right corner of the assignment, not down below. So that's something a little different. And the title of the assignment will actually have your name in it. So for your student, their name would be in the title of the assignment. So that's important to bring to their attention as well, because you might say, go look at assignment, blah, blah, blah. And they might say, oh, I don't see it, just because it doesn't have the exact same title as what you're showing them from your perspective. So it will have their name in the assignment title. So once you get a chance to go have a look at it, of course, you can go ahead and open up your copy of the file. So this is what the work looks like. It's just a which one doesn't belong little number talk. And it even has prompts here where to type your name, your guess, and your answer. Of course, we're not asking you to do a number talk today, but from your perspective as a student, you can go ahead and turn in your work as well. So I'm going to go back to Google Classroom, back here, and I just want a couple people, you don't all have to do it, but I would love for you to turn in your work just so we can see here how this page changes. Just give it a second. I might have to refresh it. If you have it turned in, just let me know in the chat. Oh, look, they're showing up now. Also, sometimes you may wonder, why can't I see everyone's assignment? I just assigned it. Oh my goodness, am I going to have to go delete this assignment and post it again? Oftentimes, the little thumbnail doesn't show up until the student opens and interacts with the file. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Give it a bit of time. There can be glitches sometimes where the assignment doesn't show up for one student. I have had that happen before, where I had to make a new copy for a particular student. But usually, if you can't see it, it's just because the student hasn't opened it and interacted with it yet. And now we can see that out of the 21, we have 3 that are turned in, and we have 18 that are assigned. And from there, I can open that student's work, I can interact with it, I can assign it a grade, and we'll get into the grading of that in just a moment. So that's assigning a basic assignment. Okay, I'm going to head back to Classwork page. So that's one way of assigning an assignment. Another way under Create, you can also do quiz assignment. Now, I'm not going to get into too much detail in this one. It's not my favorite. I'll say why. When you open a quiz assignment, it automatically creates a blank Google form for you. So then you would have to open it here, type up all your questions. If you wanted to give each question a weighting, you'd have to do that from within the Google form right here. I personally love having my Google Drive super organized. So I like creating all of my templates, all of my assignments in my Drive in their respective folders ahead of time. Now, if you want to do a quick check-in, it'll create a form just like that for you. But also, so I'm just going to get out of this one for a second. You can still assign a Google form as an assignment under the regular assignment feature as well. So if I went to my Drive, and I think I have a Google form ready to go. There's my math checkpoint. I have one ready. It looks exactly the same as if, and I'll just, of course, give it a title. It looks exactly the same as if you clicked on quiz assignment. Something about this, if you do have a Google form that already has weightings on all the answers, like you've created it as a quiz, it's going to self-grade or you'll grade it manually later. You can actually toggle on grade importing. And instead of you going and assigning the grade, once you click on grade import, it'll populate the grades for you, which is cool. If you're using school Chromebooks, you can also turn on locked mode. So for district managed computers. And that way, when the student opens the Google form, they can't go to any other window. So you can do that. So those are some things that are a little bit different if you're assigning a Google form. And then if I knew, so say my Google form is worth 20 points, I can put that in and I'll leave grade importing on. And that way, once the Google form collects the grade, you can just import it into Classroom. And that's another math checkpoint. So I'm going to pick my topic, math, the same I would as my other assignment. I can choose a due date if I want to or not. I can choose who I'm assigning it to, classroom or individual students. And when I'm ready to go, I can assign, I can save as draft, or I can schedule it.
And if you're not 100% sure the number of points, it's gonna, when it imports it, it's gonna adjust that anyways.
Oh yeah, you don't have to. That's right. You don't have to put the number of points there. It's really intuitive. It's really great. It just like takes what the grade is in Google Form and just plops it into the grades page of Google Classroom. So those are ways to assign assignments. We're going to look at a question really quick. So a question kind of works like a forum. So instead of putting a title to your post, you're going to go ahead and put the question. So I'm going to put, what is your favorite season? I can give instructions again. So I can say, please respond in full sentences, or whatever you want to instruct your students to do. If the question had reference material, you can still add something from your drive, upload from your computer, put a website link, a YouTube video, and you can still create a file from that will then appear in your drive as well. You can also choose how you want your students to answer. So it can be a short answer where they'll type in a sentence. You can also do multiple choice and add them here as well. So winter, so you could get them to type in their season, their favorite season, or you could get them to select like a multiple choice as well. Oh my goodness, spring. I didn't put them in order and made my brain stop working for a second. So again, like an assignment, you can pick which classroom you want to assign to, who you want to assign to, the point value if you want to assign points. Again, you can select ungraded if you want. You can give it a due date, and you can give it a topic. So let's call this a language arts assignment. And then you can allow for your students to see answers or not. So maybe this is just something that you want to collect for yourself to see, in which case you would uncheck, or maybe it's something that you want your students to be able to see. And then if it was a short answer question, a little different, you can allow students to reply to each other, and you can also allow students to edit their answer. So it depends what your purpose is. If you want to be able to grade their answer, maybe you don't want them to edit because maybe they'll read someone else's answer and go change theirs. I don't know. Or maybe you want to create like a type of discussion forum, and that way students can give their answers, and then you can say, and reply to one other classmate. So you can create a type of discussion forum that way as well, which is really neat. So I'm going to go ahead and post that. So again, you can schedule it, you can save a draft, you can get rid of it. And instead of assigning, the button's going to say ask because it's a question. So I'm going to go ahead and click on ask. And I would love for you to go in now and look from the student perspective and just go ahead and answer it so we can see what you're answering. We'll see what it looks like from a teacher perspective, and then you'll be able to see it from a student perspective because I've allowed you to see each other's responses. So again, this is the question, this is the overview, and from the other side, this is the teacher view. Students wouldn't see the same view as this. This is where I would be able to return work, grade work, leave comments on work. So I see that Jeanette has gone in and replied. And then you'll see underneath hers, from my perspective, there's a reply button as well. So I could go ahead and say, I love summer too, and post that. Just give it a little moment there. So and I will be able to scroll down and see all of my student answers. And I can see that one has been turned in. Oh goodness, there. Sometimes it takes a second to load. So I have 6 turned in. I have 15 assigned. I'm going to invite you guys to go and reply to each other really quick if you have turned one in. Look at someone else's answer, see how you can reply there. And it's just a really nice way of creating kind of a discussion forum from within your Google Classroom. Okay, so 2 other quick things, and then we're going to go look at assigning grades and feedback to that assigned work. And and I can see here now that I have 3 replies under Jeanette's. And that's nice from my end too. I can monitor this as a student, as a teacher. I can reply to replies, but also I can manage replies. So if I find that Rachel's going around spamming the form that I've created and leaving unnecessary replies to other student replies, I can go ahead and mute someone, and that will remove their ability to answer their peers. And if I deem an answer inappropriate, I could also go ahead and delete an answer. So those are some abilities that I have as a teacher, just hovering over the response, and you'll get the 3 little dots.
Just a quick question there. So when you mute somebody like that,
Yeah.
what does the student see? Do they just type and nothing comes up, or
They won't even see the ability to reply.
okay.
They won't even get a text box to be able to reply.
Okay.
And for you don't need to go back into this assignment to unmute a student. You can also do this from the people page.
Okay.
I'll just hop over there real quick so you can see. Also on the people page, we can see all of our students. The 3 little dots are there as well. So you can mute a student from there. And if I mute someone, I'm sorry, Erin, I'm going to go ahead and mute you there. For my perspective, just as a visual reminder, I'll get that little red speaker icon, and then I can click on the 3 dots and unmute as well. From here, if you mute a student, that mutes them from every instance in the classroom where they could possibly type and reply, not just that one assignment. That'll mute them everywhere. So that's a good classroom management and an opportunity for you to go speak with that student, be like, hey, I've muted you. This is why. Here are some steps that we can take together so that you can have the ability to comment on your peers' work again.
They will be able to leave private comments on work that only the teacher can see. But other than that, they can't leave anything that the whole class can see.
Yeah. And Stacey's going to show you about private comments now in a moment. So from here, I'm just checking my notes. Reuse posts. That's the one thing I want to show. And then we'll go, so back to Classwork page. If I click on create and reuse post, this is going to open up all the classes that I'm currently teaching, as well as every class that is in my archived file, which was in the menu on the homepage of Google Classroom. So if I can remember which class I posted it in, I can go ahead and open a class. The only thing is I have to scroll through all of the assignments I've posted. They don't appear under headings, but they are there chronologically, which is handy. So then I could pick one of these. So I'm going to pick a science experiment that I have prepped there in my other classroom, and I can click on reuse. I can click to create new copies of attachments or reuse old copies. So I can click reuse, and that will open up the assignment in the same view as the assignment that I just created from scratch. And it'll have all my instructions, all my attachments, even the settings over here for the point values and due dates and topics. And because there's a specific topic there, it'll actually populate a new topic on my Classwork page. So I could get rid of that one and use a topic that I've already created for this class. And then when I go ahead and click on assign or draft or schedule, I'll click draft because I haven't done that one yet. That's an assignment that I had pre-made from another Google Classroom that I don't need to go then and like copy paste everything. I can just completely reuse it. And again, that could be from an existing classroom that is currently active, or it can be from a classroom that you have archived from a previous year. So that's something handy. If you archive your class instead of deleting it entirely, you will have access to everything that you've posted and be able to reuse that. And one last thing before we get into grading and rubrics, on the stream page, you'll notice now that I have all of these posts. I have the question and the assignments. I have a post from one of my students that interacted with my class. So all of this is appearing on the stream. Depending on what you want your stream to be, you can customize what appears here. And for me, I like to use my stream as an announcement page or like a homework page or reminder page. I don't particularly like my assignments showing up here. I always direct my students to the Classwork page, and I'll always let them know when I post new material or a new assignment. So depending on what you want your stream for, you can customize that by going into the gear icon in the top right corner, scrolling down to your general settings. And right here where it says stream, you have a drop-down menu, and you can allow who can post in the stream. So if I want students to be able to post and comment, like I already had a student post there, I can have it so students can only comment. So I can post, they can leave me a comment on the work or the announcement, or I can have it that only teachers can post and comment. Again, this is just for the stream page. I like to leave it on students can comment because I can post announcements and then they can ask me questions on those announcements. Again, just classroom management tool. It's what works best for you. And then here, Classwork on stream. So that's anything you post on Classwork. Do you also want it to appear in the stream? So you can have it as condensed notifications, which is what it is right now. You can have it so that the shows attachments and details. So I'm going to go up here and save to let you see what that looks like. So that's like, from my point of view, it's how many are turned in or not. For students, they would see the instructions, all the attachments. Personally, I find that a little busy. I like the condensed ones better. But again, for me, I don't have anything from my classwork show up in my stream. So I go ahead and hide notifications. That's just a personal preference. And again, I use my stream as just announcements. I use my classwork for just classwork. But again, those are some things that you can customize in your settings. And of course, make sure to click on save. So then now I don't see any of that classwork. I just have that student post that was previously posted. So those are some ways you can customize what you post in classwork, how it shows up in other places in your Google Classroom. Does anybody have any questions on general posting of assignments, saving drafts, things like that? Yes, Erin.
Hi. I'm learning lots. Thank you. Just a quick question about parents and guardians.
Yeah.
Like I didn't invite any of my parents, but maybe I should. I don't know. I'm grade 6 like Megan is. But there's on mine, when I go in and look, there's a set of parents that are already in there. So I don't know if maybe one of the other teachers invited those parents. I'm not sure.
So on the people page, you'll see all of your students, and then you'll see next to them. So because you're all teachers, we have the option to invite guardian. If you see that there's already an email address there, that means that a parent or guardian has already been invited. Once they're invited and they accept that invitation, and that would be an email. So if you added their email address there, they will get an automatically generated email from Google saying that they have been invited to view summaries, and it's just summaries of their child's Google Classroom. This doesn't give them access. They can't get in your class. They just get a synopsis of what is going on. Once they've been invited, they've accepted that invitation. They never have to get invited again. So every class that kid is in, from the moment their guardian was invited to the end of grade 12, that guardian will get those summaries unless they unsubscribe from the email. So if you already see an email address and a name next to your student names, it means that that guardian has already accepted the invite. Now from your settings menu, and that's that little gear icon in the top right on any page of your classroom, you can go ahead and modify. And the only thing here that you can modify is that you can turn it off. So if you don't want guardians to receive summaries for your particular class, you can toggle it off, but guardians will still receive summaries for the other classes, if they're enabled, that their child is enrolled in. And if you wanted to see an example of what a summary looks like, there's a little small there, but right under the words guardian summaries, there's a hyperlink that says see example, and that brings you to the Google Classroom help page. And if you scroll down, that's what the email would look like. So it shows the work that's due, any upcoming due dates, any missed work. It shows announcements that were put on the stream by the teacher, not by students. Student announcements wouldn't show up. And it does, if you gave your assignment a description, like we just did, it'll show the title of the assignment, the description. It will not show the attachments. We will not give guardians access to the attachments. This is just meant as a quick summary of what is going on in the students' classrooms. It's just a means of communication between the guardians and what their child is doing in school. So that's a quick summary of guardian summaries. I do have like an email done up that I send to all of my staff of how it works and resources that you can send guardians. So if you want, Erin, I can forward you that email after.
That would be good. Like the only thing that I wondered was that both parents are teachers, so they have NLESD email. So I didn't know if somehow they default.
No,
I don't know.
if you're invited as a guardian, that's all they'll get is that email, automatically generated email from Google. That's all they will get. On their end, they can opt to get it weekly or daily, but that's the only interaction that they have with it. Otherwise, it's just a summary of what's going on in the classroom.
Gotcha. I just wondered.
Not actual access to the classroom, whether they have an NLESD email or not.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Jeanette.
I was just wondering about when you reuse an assignment, what's the difference between create new copies or not? The little box that you unclicked.
Right. It just, gee, I don't know if it really makes a huge difference. I guess it's more personal preference of how you like your files organized in your drive.
Yeah, because I've reused
I've
reused assignments and I've just left it clicked because I didn't know what it was, and I just assumed that maybe it might show up something that might have been typed on by students or something else.
It could if your assignment was, so remember we had that little drop down menu by the file and it was view only, make a copy for every student, or allow all students to edit the same copy. Yep. If you use that assignment in the past and assigned it as let everyone edit the same copy, and you never cleared it and you're reusing it, then all those comments and all that work would still be there. Creating it fresh would just be like, if you wanted to save that work, you didn't want that touched. If you had stuff typed into it and you wanted to make a new one for this group, it would generate a second copy of the same file.
And you could,
for organizational purposes.
Like you could change it at that point too. Like if you were to, reuse that, but then go into the assignment, you want to change a few dates or change whatever, then it's not going to change the old assignment. So you'll still have both copies.
Okay. So I think I'm safer making new copies.
Yeah.
I probably would,
I'll probably find a whole lot of stuff in my Google Drive somewhere that I don't know where it came from.
I'm wondering, and I don't know this, I would assume that would create a copy and put it where the old file is saved. Or would it generate a new copy and appear on the front page of your drive?
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
I was thinking of being your classwork folder for this classroom.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Probably in your classroom folder. Yeah.
All right. So we are going to go over grading and how to kind of, now that we have work passed in, how to give feedback on that work. So if we are to, so I'm on the classwork page, and if I'm going to go, say, to this math emoji puzzle, I can see how many students turned it in, and I can see how many it's been assigned to. Okay. And just like the ones you guys did again, how many turned in, how many it's been assigned to. If I then go into the assignment, I can see the individual work. So I can click on Erin's assignment, and it's going to open up in a new tab. So I'm just going to switch over to that tab. And then I can go ahead and give Erin feedback on this. So I can give it a grade. So we had this one out of 4. So I can give it a grade. I can write a comment. And notice how this one says it's a private comment. So a private comment means only the student is going to be able to see it. So this is a conversation between me and Erin, okay? No other student in the class is going to be able to see it. She can then go ahead and, oh, I spelled explain wrong. She can then go ahead and write back to it. Okay. But this is a private conversation between me and my student and any other teachers in the classroom, I should say. They'll all be able to see it, of course, as well. So like I said, I can give it a grade there. And then I can write a comment there to leave feedback. If I want to grade all of these assignments at once, I can up here kind of flip through them. Okay, it's going to do that in alphabetical order. So if someone didn't turn it in, it's still going to show their assignment, and it's going to show that it's assigned and what they've done so far. So even if they don't have it turned in, if I want to go ahead and say, could you please finish this? I can leave that comment for my student there. Okay. And, oh, went too quick. So post, and then I can go ahead and scroll through them and give feedback that way. I'm just going to go back now. And then within this assignment, I should say, if I grade it and then leave my comment, on this page, I do have the option as well to return it right here. So if I want to return this to Julia right away, I'm going to go ahead, press return, and it's going to tell me that the student will be notified and can check any grade you've left. So if that's fine, I'm going to go ahead and press return here. When I return this assignment to the student, so once the student turns in the assignment, once they press turn in, it transfers ownership rights of the assignment over to the teacher. So they actually can't edit anything unless they press unsubmit. But once I return it, it's going to transfer ownership rights back to the student of the file. Okay. So I'm just going to go back here to the main assignment page. And you can see here, I have now 9 assignments that have been turned in, 11 assigned. So that's 11 students in my class who have not turned in the assignment. Now, it is possible and probable with my students that some of them have gone in and done it and just forgot to press turn in. So if I wanted to look and say, has Melissa turned in this assignment? I can go in and look, and it very well could be that Melissa completed the assignment, but just forgot to turn it in which case I could go ahead and grade it, give it a private comment. I always remind my students to please press that turn in button because it helps me stay organized. But you will be able to see any work there. But if I go back to this assignment page now, I can also give a grade. Now, obviously, you're going to look at the work first, but I can fill in grades right here as well. So say I had looked at them all and maybe recorded separately or just looked real quick and, wanted to give grades this way. I certainly can. And then with these check boxes, I can go ahead and return all the work at once. So instead of pressing return individually on each project, I would go ahead and return them all at once, once I had all the grades filled in. Okay. I can also here, just real quick, email the selected students as well. So if I had a group of students who hadn't turned it in and I wanted to send them an email saying, it's going to bring me to my Gmail now, but I wanted to give them a quick email saying, hey, could you please complete this? It'll open it up right there. So I can email those students. So that's one way to leave feedback on work. And like I said, when you leave those comments, those are private comments, as opposed to here on the assignment page, there are class comments. So these are comments that everyone in the class is going to be able to see. So if a student wants to ask a question or you want to write something about the assignment, you can do that there. But on the student's individual assignment, those are going to be private comments. Okay. So that is one way to view the student work. And you can see, so I'll just go back to another one real quick. Let me go back to my classwork page. So if I was to go to this persuasive essay, for example, okay, I can see students that have turned it in. And this one had a due date of yesterday. So it's going to show me missing. Now, you'll note, remember before it said assigned. Assigned means that it's been assigned, it hasn't been turned in, but it's not officially late because we're not past the due date, okay? Or there is no due date specified. But this project actually had a due date. Let's see. It was due yesterday. So that's why this work is coming up in red as missing. And indeed, if you do have parent summaries, parent guardian summaries turn on, it's going to show up as missing work. So right here, I can go on in. I can see the private comments. So you can see Melissa here left a private comment. So I could respond to that. And I can go in and have a look at this work. So when I go in and have a look at this work, I can certainly leave a comment here, but I can also, another form of giving feedback certainly, is I can go in and suggest things that should be added here. So if I wanted that to be an exclamation mark, or if I wanted to say, you know, please, let's see, please explain further. I could leave those comments right in the document itself as a comment feature. Okay? So that is another way I can give feedback on specific documents. Now, you'll notice that Melissa's work here, it looks a little plagiarized. So in Google Classroom, there's actually a way to find out if work has been plagiarized. So Heather, students will be able to view those comments without me pressing return. Yeah, so I can do that kind of at any point during the process. So they'll be able to see the comments on the document. They'll also be able to see the comments over here on the file. So I'm just going to go back to my persuasive essay. And back in the instructions, if I just go and edit that, when I assigned the assignment, you'll notice there's two things we haven't talked about yet, rubric and check plagiarism. So I'm going to go ahead and do the rubric first, and then we'll talk about the plagiarism. So if I want to create a rubric for this assignment, I am going to go ahead and go rubric, and then I'm going to create a rubric. And with the rubric, I can choose to use scoring, okay? Or I could just have like a descriptor. And then right here, if I wanted to say this was for, let's say it was a holistic rubric.
And something to note too, like Stacy's making it now, she went and edited an assignment that was already given. Students had already turned in work. You can still go back and add the rubric after. Now, of course, it's great to show your students a rubric ahead of time, have them come up with their goals with you. But if you forgot to put the rubric in the assignment, you can go back and do it after. You can also put it in when you create the assignment in the first place. So in case you did assign something and you forgot to add the rubric, no worries. You can go back and edit the assignment, even if students have already turned in work, and you can add that rubric.
Yes. So say I wanted a 4-point scale really quickly. And of course, this would take time. So I'm going to do this really quickly. I would do a much better rubric. But say I wanted to say this was growing. This was maybe approaching. This was meeting expectations, and this was excellent. And then I would go type in, you know, my criteria for each. I can go ahead and save that. And then when I go to grade it, I can also, so the rubric will be there and students can see that once you've uploaded it. I can also check for plagiarism. So I'm going to go ahead and do that and press save. And now when I go back to this assignment, when I go back to the work, I'm going to be able to now use my holistic rubric. So the criteria will be there, the explanation, and if I had like if I had one with like voice and word choice and everything else, that would all be there as well. So I can use my rubric there. And then I can also check for plagiarism. So I'm going to go ahead and press check plagiarism. It will take a moment. Okay. You can see here, oh, sorry, I'm not sharing the right tab. You can see here, it's checking for plagiarism right now. And then just give it a moment. And what I was saying earlier, the rubric is right here. So you can go ahead and click the rubric points that you want to make. So that can be a really handy feature. I'll show you another one in a moment. So this is going to go ahead and check for plagiarism.
And that's taking a minute because it's searching the web. Like it's checking everywhere. It's doing a big Google search for that whole text. So it might take a few moments. And when and if it does find something where it says checking plagiarism, you'll be able to see that has changed. It'll let you know if it found something or not. And it will find word for word or not quite paraphrasing, but if you find something similar with similar words, and then you can cross-check from there.
So I'll come back to that in just a moment. I'm going to go show you another rubric just so you can see that. So over here in Classwork in math, where we had the emoji puzzle, here I had a rubric there as well. So that was a rubric I had made in advance, shared with the students. And you can see here, it's what they were being graded on. So solvability, not yet there, approaching, met expectations, excelling, mathematical concepts, presentation. So if I was to go ahead and grade using that, so if I go back into that assignment, so again, I'm going to click on the turned in one, and I'm going to click there. And then I can see down where the grade is. Oh, again, it opens in a new tab. So down here, I can actually go ahead and click there to see, okay, so solvability, not quite there yet, okay, and give that a 1 out of 4. Then I can click, okay, mathematical concepts, maybe it's approaching, okay. And then I can actually grade using the rubric, and students will be able to see that as well. So then when I return that, they're going to be able to see that rubric, see exactly where they were. So that can be a really handy feature to give students pretty specific feedback. So I'm just going to go check that. Let's see now. Check that persuasive essay. And it's still checking plagiarism. But so it does take a little while because, as Megan said, it's searching the whole internet. But in the meantime, I'm going to go over to the grading page. Just in the interest of time. So if I go back to the TESIC classroom, now that I've assigned some grades, so as we said at the top, there's 4 tabs: stream, classwork, people, and grades. So I'm going to go over to grades. And then you can see this shows up like a grade book, almost like Power School would if you're in 7 to 12. And you can see for projects that had no due date, it'll say whether it's turned in or not. So turned in, and then it will say the ones that aren't will just be empty. And then for the projects like the math checkpoint, if it's turned in, you can actually go ahead and grade through here. So maybe if you had looked at something beforehand, or maybe you just want to keep all your grades together, you can, no problem, Gail, totally understand. You can assign a grade here as well on the grade page. And once you have so many grades in, it will show you the class average there at the top. It'll show you when the projects were due. Okay. And then if anyone is missing, for ones that had a due date and are late, it's going to show you missing as well. So that is the grade page. So it'll show you the class average. It will show you the due date at the top, what the project was, and it'll show you any that are missing. And it'll show you what it was marked out of.
And that's a great overview instead of having to go into each individual assignment, seeing how many are turned in, how many are late, how many are returned. You got this big global view here. So it's even if you don't assign grades and all you want them to do is turn it in or not, it's an easy way to see if they're missing. But it's important to know that students don't get this grades page. So if you went into the one because you joined this one as a student, if you went and looked, you wouldn't see all of this. This grade book is only visible to teachers. So if a student wanted to go and view their private comment, their rubric, their mark, they would have to go in and open that specific assignment, and they would see that then from their assignment page. They wouldn't be able to go to a grades page like this.
No, they won't see that tab there at all. Now, if you want to have an individual look at a student, if you click on that student's name, it's also going to show you for that student. It's going to show you what's missing, what's been turned in, what's been assigned. And you can also actually up here, you can email that to their guardian as well. So if you have a student, I know last time we were online, I did this a bit. If you had a student who maybe just had a lot of work missing, you can go ahead and email them, and it will email their guardians if a guardian is there. And you can include that work summary and just say, look, I notice Aaron's fallen a bit behind. Is there anything I can do to help them catch up? And you can send that just to give a little pinch there.
And of course, you can't send that email to parents unless you've added them for the guardian summary. So again, that's on the people page that we mentioned briefly earlier. Otherwise, if Stacey clicks on the little envelope, we'll see she'll only be able to email Aaron, only to the student. But if there were guardians associated with their account, they would show up there as well.
Yes. So for example, I think Rob had one. So for example, with Rob, when I do it, if I go press that, oh no, maybe it was someone else, but the parent will show up if that's an option, if there's a parent listed and who has accepted the invitation. So I'm going to go back and check my originality report, see if that's done. So it still says checking, actually.
Oh, weird. It usually doesn't take that long. Something else that's neat about the originality reports is that I believe with NLESD, and I think CSFP has the same accounts. We have the enterprise Google for Education accounts or Google Workspace accounts. So that gives us unlimited originality reports. Back, I think it was last year with our district specifically, we only had access to it was three or five per student or something.
Yeah.
For the whole entire year. So you had to use them sparingly. But I know maybe for a language arts teacher, maybe more so in secondary in 7 to 12 or 10 to 12, you might need more than that throughout the school year. So I'm like 99% sure we have unlimited originality reports with the type of account that we have right now.
So rather than keep you all, what we will do is in our follow-up email, we will include a screenshot of what that originality report looks like.
Yeah. When it doesn't do, yeah.
Yeah. So, but as I said, it is in the assignment. Let me just go back. In order to turn it on, it is in, if you go to that assignment.
You have to enable it. It won't do it automatically.
No, it won't do it automatically. You can do this beforehand or after. So if you see one and you're like, you can certainly go do this. But in the assignment, you go down here at the very bottom, check plagiarism originality, and then you will get that option. Okay. So it's just a little checkbox, and then you will have that option available to you. So that's an overview of Classwork, how to give feedback, how to grade using a rubric and without, and how to leave comments on work and navigate the grading page. Is there any questions?
And of course, we can actually, why don't we, we'll stop recording now. And then if anybody wants to stick around a little longer and ask something specific, you can definitely do that. I know we went over a lot of information, and we probably could have did a whole nother hour and really got into the nitty gritty of making really nice rubrics, but that's just an overview, and this is recorded. So we will get this up on our TESIC YouTube channel so that you can go back and view the bits that apply to you. Also, feel free to reach out through email, through Twitter, if you have a question anytime. We'd be happy to help you there as well.
And one thing, so for NLESD has created, Megan and I did actually, the Google Classroom's digital readiness website. So that has some information there. I'm just going to link it here, but it has some information on Google Classroom next steps. It is, anyone can view it. So our friends at CSFP can view it as well. But it has some information there on like making and using rubrics, using the grading tool, originality reports, all that is there as well.
Yeah, so if you wanted to bookmark that website, you can feel free to do so. And I'm gonna go ahead and start recording now. Thank you all so much. We're gonna share a feedback form as well. And if you would like to stick around a little while longer and ask some questions, you're welcome to do so.